this shows, the age group. Well, yesterday I didn't mention this, but normally we tend to focus on the youth in terms of the age group that has the highest number of suicides, and it's true in terms of numbers. But when you look at the age standardized death rates, you look at the elderly. Between 50 to 69, 81 is the highest. But because the elderly population is small, we don't notice that. But they, in terms of their population and the proportionality, you have 81.4. So, and then 70 plus, 95%, no, 95 per 100,000. Most of them are also due to the fact that aging, pains that they have. Some persons cannot take the pains and they kill themselves. Some, the isolation, because family members may have moved and left them alone. And so, multiplicity of factors. Next slide, please. Is the third leading cause of death amongst the 20 to 24. And I think that's the group that are also productive. And I think we need to well, the youth, so I think we need to take care of them. Next slide, please. Like I said, if you look at Region 4, we have them having 49, but it's also because a lot of the cases from the, yes, so Region 4 is 49, Region 6 is 36, followed by Region 3, 30, and then 5, 28. Next slide, please. In terms of religions, like I said, we had about 33% of persons attempting suicide between Hindus, almost the same 33% also with Christians. However, when we looked at the data in terms of those who completed suicide, it was almost 80, almost 3 to 1 between Hindus and then Christians. The other thing is there are also some changes amongst between the Christian group that we don't know how to explain that, and that needs more work. Next slide, please. Yeah, I talked about this already in terms of ethnicity. Next slide. This you wouldn't, it might be frustrating, so I wouldn't, go through that. Next slide. The etiology, I think I talked about that. Personal, genetic, social, psychological, cultural, biological, and then also, sometimes, situational. Next slide. Suicidal, behavior, like I said, it's a spectrum, and therefore it starts off with ideation, and the ideation could be, you could have that with verbal and non-verbal cues, then the planning, and then the attempt, and then finally the suicide itself. Like I said yesterday, about for each one suicide case that you get, it's about 20 to 25 out there that have attempted. And therefore, if you multiply the number that we normally have, if, say, this 277 in 2012, by 25, we get almost 7,000 persons who have attempted suicide in Guyana. Next slide, please. Risk factors, I think persons coming after me are going to speak about that. I'm told I have 3 minutes. Next slide, please. Acute emotional distress is one. Access, to lethal substances. Adolescent maladaptive disorders, aggressive tendencies, impulsivity, alcohol and drug use, family history of suicide, family dysfunction, previous suicidal attempt. It's been found out that those who attempt eventually complete it at some point. Mental disorders and lack of social support systems. Next slide, please. Problem management, strategies. I think we are in the midst of psychologists. They will help us, so I wouldn't spend more time on that. Next slide, please. This is the public health model that WHO is using, making sure that we have surveillance, identification of the risk factors, development and evaluation of the interventions, and then implementation, and it's a cycle. Next slide. We need funding. At our last meeting, and Oba is here, I think you have to let the minister know. At the last meeting, Minister Norton, previous Minister of Health, got up and said we are going to give mental health 20% of health budget. 20% would have probably been the highest I've heard of in any part of the world. Australia, that I thought had the highest, was 10%. So minister saying that, I turned around when I got to the podium and I told the mental health people, you are going to be swimming in money. We didn't see it. The last time we looked at mental health funding as a percentage of health funding, it was 0.11%. Woefully inadequate. Next slide, please. So I'm hoping that you let minister know now that you are representing minister. Focus of UN. Next slide, please. I think as part of our work, we want to help with the laws and the fact that there are about 6 laws that we want to revisit. We've hired a public health lawyer who is going to assist us with that. One of the main laws is the criminalization of suicide, that if you attempt suicide, it's a criminal offense and therefore you can be put in jail. Rather than helping you, they are going to put you in jail. So if I'm going to attempt and land in jail, then I might as well complete it. Thank you.